Thank you for joining us. This is Live with Miami's Community News. I'm Michael Miller. We have a special guest today, my friend Rabbi Ari Werbler. Thank you for being here. And you are with Chabad of Southwest Miami. Why does Miami need another Chabad? Because you just opened that.
So I could share with you a personal story that just happened in the last couple of weeks. We are on Miller Drive, and where we are is west of 97th and all the way basically to Everglades. We go as far without falling into the alligators. And every week I'm meeting new people. There's pockets of people, and one of the things we started right away is something called Taste of Shabbat, where we deliver food to people who want either just the taste of Shabbat, maybe they live alone, get some good home-cooked traditional meals that my wife helps prepare. I'm just the delivery boy. And there was one woman that I met before Passover who I helped deliver Passover matzahs to. And after we moved down here, I dropped off a package for her about this Taste of Shabbat program. And her daughter had responded that since then her mother had passed. So in the processes of moving, I didn't get to meet her. And she said, "What I would love to benefit from this program, since her mother had passed, she had felt kind of alone and isolated. So I offered to bring her. She also explained to her situation, how she was handling both her load and her mother's load and things like that, and paying for the tombstone as well. So I mentioned to my wife, I said, to the best that we can, we're new here, but let's see if we can help her, maybe put together the funds for her mother's tombstone." And when I told my wife the amount, she froze. She said somebody else who was a partner in our community just had given that same exact amount for this lady. And I said, "Lord, don't you see the divine providence here? The amount you just received is the exact amount that this woman needs." So we dropped off our Taste of Shabbat package with some chicken soup and everything like that. And she opened the envelope and she had texted us, emailed us back that she was floored by the impact and the unexpected gift that we had given her. And, that's just one story. We see that we're here, there's people here that need us with her for that. We started classes. Many of us may be familiar with ideas of prayer and meditation, but we're not made in GM factories to just hand somebody an instruction manual.
Same.
Yeah.
What's the short history of Chabad, either international or throughout the United States? Because it seems as though the last 10 or 15 years, there seems to be this exponential growth, or certainly exponential acceptance and awareness of Chabad. And it's not Chabad, right? I know I'm not pronouncing it perfectly, but Chabad. When you put the Jewish accent on it, how would you pronounce it?
You got it right. Chabad.
Chabad.
You
All right.
got it.
I always know when I'm talking to somebody and they say Chabad, I go, yeah, that's it. Okay. So tell us about the growth of Chabad and why that growth, just as you're saying, you're recognizing there's people here that want it. But why is it growing so much?
So Lord Jonathan Sachs, who was the chief rabbi of England, spoke to the Kinnis, which is an international banquet for all the Chabad rabbis around the world that get together once a year, like a recharge. And several years ago, before he passed, he spoke to the community. And before we were on air, actually, we were just speaking about how we've been persecuted for a long time, which is relevant to Hanukkah as well. The miracle is not that the holiday lasted 8 days, but it's lasted over 2,000 years, and it keeps going strong. And he spoke about how the same thing that Hitler and others have tried to do in trying to hunt down each one of us out of hate, Chabad, or the Lubavitcher Rebbe, did out of love. That each Jew matters infinitely, and every act we do matters infinitely. And so I think the outlook of Chabad has always been that approach, that each one of us is infinitely valued, our own light. And the Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, created not followers but leaders. So the exponential growth is the idea that each one of us is an emissary. Mr. Miller here on air with us, and everybody in this community has something to share in their unique light. And that's a universal message too.
Yes. So we have one of the high holidays, not quite high holidays, but it's Hanukkah that's here, right? So tell us about the short history of it and how you and yours are going to be celebrating it.
So as I kind of alluded to a little bit in that second spiel I just said, is that Hanukkah historically was a time where we were being, again, persecuted, and there was this little jug of oil that many of us know was preserved to light the menorah, which was meant to only last one night. It lasted 8 nights. And deeper than that, the message is that there's a lot of, as we say in Jewish, schmutz in this world. There's a lot of things that try to damper our light, just part of life to deal with. But each one of us has this light to shine outwards, and it can never be dampened. And we see that through generation after generation, in more recent history as well, that not only do we have a light to shine, but we have a light to add. That, when you light one candle and you light another, the first one's not diminished. It only increases. And each one of us can do that for each other. And that's a universal message again, that each one of us has something to add. And that Hanukkah, so we're going to be having December 25th. We have the holiday of Hanukkah starts nightfall the 25th till January 2nd. And the 25th, we're going to be having, you could RSVP online.
And people can go on,
Yeah.
I think we're showing the website address right now,
Yeah.
and people can find out more information about that.
That's right. So there's a Hanukkah RSVP section. We'll have live music, festive latkes. We eat potato pancakes and donuts to add in the sweetness, and also sharing some words in light, lighting the menorah, obviously.
So I was raised in the First Unitarian Church, and when you said universal and you talk lights, we used to sing the song, "This little liberal light of mine, I'm going to let it shine all the time, all the time." And so, continue to see this connection of not just of religion, but of humanity.
Right.
That's there on a much deeper level.
Right.
Because I'm not sure what the word religion means at this particular point in my life. I remember taking a class with my wife who's called the Course of Miracles. So about 2 months in, I said, "Susan, I think this is a religious class." And then I said, and I got it. And then I said to myself, "You really think you got it? And if you think you got it, how much of it do you think you got?" People have been studying this for thousands and thousands of years. But it was when I had this moment of clarity that it was like a little peek in. But at some point, I thought that I had it for a millisecond. I said, "No, you don't have it. It's that little light is shining through."
Wow.
And I see that now at this stage of my life where, I know it's my obligation to do what I can to give people a choice and bring in folks like yourself who are there and sharing and moving. You moved from Chicago, your wife and your 3 children came down to, and you went to graduate school here. So you were sort of familiar with the neighborhood.
Yeah.
But to open up a brand new facility in a town, all right, where there's, and I hope you prove us wrong, that there are probably less Jewish people there at concentrations. But it sounds like what you're doing is that they may not be concentrated, but you're able to go around and you can see who they are. Yeah. But what do you do to find people that might be interested in Judaism? What is it where do you go to do that, Rabbi?
So it's interesting. A lot of times it's by divine providence. You meet somebody in a store or in the business. But there's also everyone that I meet here, when I meet them, they say, "I thought I was the only Jew here." I'm with every person I meet. And there's a long history of Jewish people who lived here. Some have moved away. I guess what I'm hearing is since Hurricane Andrew, people have moved closer to other communities. But there's people who moved here, and there's people who have been here. And a lot of times it's giving them an opportunity, an invitation for a Shabbos, for a holiday event.
Some of the people that have been going, is this sort of a second tour for them, that they weren't doing anything and they have this opportunity because you were there, and say, "It's a great time for you to get reintroduced to where you used to be"? Are you seeing that?
I think so. Yeah, in one way or another, the way you're putting it is, like I mentioned, that we started a class, or we're starting a class about meaningful meditation and prayer in Judaism. Because, like I said, we're not made in GM factories where like you could just hand somebody something. And the same thing with like a brick and mortar just building is not, I don't want to say it's not enough, but there's more to be done throughout the year that brings meaning to our lives. We have weekly teachings and traditions that brings that light. You have the light inside of you, right? Every one of us. But every day, so you have to light a candle, right? You have to put a match to that wick. And the fact that we have a tradition that provides meaning to every moment of our lives is a true gift that we have. So when you meet these people, they're like, "Oh, I could see something right now that's very applicable to my day-to-day life that I didn't think about until previously maybe it was just on Rosh Hashanah. You know, that there's an opportunity here every day.
So one of the things I try to do is understand myself and how I relate to other people. And I was reminded one day when I was going into my house and our light at the front porch was on. And I looked at it. It was about a 30-watt bulb. And I said, gee, I wish it was brighter. And I said to myself, but don't be mad at the 30-watt bulb. It's shining what it can do. It's not 100 watt. It's 30. This is for them. For that bulb, that's it. That's what it can do. So don't be mad at it, all right? If you don't like it, get a 100-watt bulb, all right? And so I think that it's helped me get along with people so much better. Say what they bring to the table, the brightest light that they have. It may only be 30 watt, or maybe it's 100. And so I've learned a lot about being accepting and it's not tolerant, it's engaging people so that whatever light that I have, some people may say it's 30. Some other people may say it's 0 or 100.
If I could share with you, actually, I just saw this week, and it's a video of an ant, and the ant and the teacher wanted to teach their children about what they're capable of, and the ant, they drew a circle around the ant, and the ant, when it would get to the edge of the circle, it was just a drawn circle. It would stop until it realized, it got a little, maybe I think it was a push from the teacher, that the limitations are imagined, and that there's a level we need to have to accept ourselves, the light, the wattage that we have right now, but that we can upgrade the wattage always. We have a lot more to share than we think sometimes of ourselves.
So what do you come from a very learned place. What do you suppose is behind so many of us not living our best life or near our potential? What is it that's sort of holding us back, you suspect?
I heard a nice quote that there's two ways that we can be uncomfortable. It's either going out of our comfort zone or staying in it. So either one has its advantage. You know, we in Hasidic thought, it's called Ratzav Shuv. Shuv is this idea that, like you said, accept. I need to know where I'm at to grow. But at the same time, what I really want and what our souls, I think, are craving is more. So it's a balance between being where I'm at and knowing that I'm capable of a lot more. And I think that sometimes each one of us in our way, I actually can't speak for anybody else but myself, that it's sometimes more easy to stay in a comfortable space, but at the same time, we don't necessarily feel comfortable there. We're like, wait, there has to be something. I have more wattage to share. I know that I do.
Yes. So you mentioned you have meditation classes. Are you meditating in the classes?
So, okay, so we started several programs that are growing. As you said, we've only been here a couple of months, and as I meet more people, what I've seen is there's a strong desire to understand what is the Jewish approach to prayer and meditation. Again, many people have experienced walking to a synagogue and opening this book, but the words feel like I just opened an instruction manual to, again, a blender. You know, like that's not who we are. So it's the idea of like, what's the deeper meaning? How do these words relate to me? Here's a formatted text, but that it's called Avodah Shabalev. Prayer is the service of the heart. So how on a deeper level am I connecting to the words here? There's also a class we have called Psychology of the Soul. It's based on the Tanya, which is how do I understand myself and the wattage that I could share with the world? And then there's also weekly classes we're starting where we can see the relevance of our tradition, the Torah, and how it provides a lesson for our day-to-day life.
So how do you get people moved from outside in their busy schedule, and they come in to this, be calm, be open, be ready to experience something, right, and be soulful, so you can allow new thoughts to come in, so you can start thinking about what to do. So tell me the art of that.
That's a real challenge. That I have to say 100%. A lot of it is, the expression, people don't care what you know till they know that you care. It's not so much that I have more information that I'm going to provide you. I'm not going to teach you how to build a car, for example. But when it's so a relevance and a meaning to the person's life, a lot of it is going to them first. And being like, it's not about coming to sit and have a class where you're sitting in a room and it's interactive. Life is interactive. What is this going to mean to this person individually? So it takes time. It takes time. I wish I could say that our doors are flung open and there's people hanging outside waiting to get in for the next class. but the interest is there. And to know that, wait a second, more than what I'm sharing information, we're sharing each other's hearts.
A couple of years ago, I wasn't feeling good. I go to my doctor, and he puts his hand on my shoulder. What's going on, Michael? And as soon as he did that, I felt better.
Mm.
He says, let's do some tests. He does all the tests. He says, and I'm feeling great. He says, don't drink as much coffee. But when he put his arm there, and it was like that he cared enough to sit down and have the conversation, that made all the difference in the world. I could have been in some lab and I don't care, right? So here it is. And I'm going, wow, that was really good. So I suspect that some of the people, when they go to see you, that when they walk in, all of a sudden they're going to go, I think I'm going to experience something wonderful. So how do you when they're there, how did you get them involved in the process?
Well, I think the story you just told was so telling. Your question is the answer. That sensational is simple. You know, the truth is they say the truth is simple but not easy at the same time. And I think most people relate to that. The fact that the simple hand on your shoulder, the fact that our tradition provides meaningful moments, that the miracles are in the molecule, so to say. You know, there was a group of students who came to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and they said, I heard you perform miracles. We're coming up on Hanukkah, right? And we talk about miracles, but miracles could feel like it's in outer space. Like, what do you mean miracles? And he said, the Rebbe said to the students, you also can perform miracles. You're also miracle workers. And they said, how so? Every time you do something, like we said before, a little out of your comfort zone, you're being extraordinary. What's ordinary to you, you're making extraordinary. And so that's something I think we all can do. It's not moving mountains.
So we have a great team here.
Yeah.
And when I see the extraordinary work that we are doing, and I'm really motivated by them and by the work that we're doing and by the feedback that we get. And although we don't need it, we get that constantly. Mm-hmm. And when we see the type of people that we work with, that 35% of the shows we do are directly related to mental health, directly, not indirect, directly, right? And there's about another 20% that are indirectly, just one step away. And so what you realize is that we have so much to offer as a group here and in Miami. We've seen the conversations about mental health and well health, where people didn't want to talk about their crazy Uncle Joe being locked away. Now there are mental health days that you get off. There are, and when you look at Simone Biles, she said, I got to take some time off. I got to get my head straight. Michael Phelps, a famous swimmer, who says, when I need help, here's where I go. We're seeing that conversation that people are more and more open to trying to connect to each other. Right. And so we know when we do that, it allows people to be a whole lot freer. What was your drive to open a Chabad in Miami? What intervention occurred where you said, I'm up here in Chicagoland having a good time, enjoying the winters? Not really, but your family was there and your kids were growing up and you had to change of weather, right? It wasn't hot too much. And you said, I think I'm going to go open a Chabad down in Miami. Tell us about that process.
Well, one thing I can say, I looked at the weather last week in Chicago, it says 12 degrees feels like 1. Just like to remind myself. We were very fortunate in our community in Chicago. Actually, we had a beautiful community. We were, I think my wife would say that we were, though, a little bit like trying to put a circle in a square peg. We were making impact in work, in our community. We had many guests coming to our home for different things, and we realized we kind of outgrew our shell. And I don't know if it was, as much as it was a choice or something chosen for us. There was a sense that you have to let your wattage shine down here in Miami, and that's that desire to connect has always been the underground growth. I think it's true for everybody, but it's pronounced in different ways. Sometimes it's a community news, sometimes it's in a community here, and in speaking to friends who we're close with, there was this community here who we could better connect with and have the opportunity to bring out more light, let the light shine over here.
That's wonderful. All right, so And you chose Miami because you were familiar with Miami and you had some family sort of nearby, all right? But what was it like leaving at your young age, all right, and say, I'm gonna head on down there. Just for clarity, no job, right? Do I have that right?
I mean, coming down here?
Yes.
So you mentioned, Rabbi Feleg, who helps the graduate students here in Miami,
That's Coconut Grove.
Rabbi Yankee Feleg is sort of oversees the whole area, and Rabbi Mendy helps with the graduate students, and there's Rabbi Lipsker with the undergrads. So we were friendly I had finished my rabbinical degree and a master's, and there was an opportunity more in northern Miami. And he said, you know what, that doesn't sound like the right fit for your whole family to move out here. So he mentioned this community here. I wasn't even calling it. We weren't even. It was not even on the radar, so to say. But it was put on our radar, and that's for a reason. So me and you can sit here today.
That's the way it works.
That's it.
Right. Okay. By the way, so for folks so they know that Rabbi Yossi Harlig and the Friendship Circle just opened their tremendous Friendship Circle. I think it's now called Friendship Campus, where the synagogue and the Friendship Circles for people that need some extra help. And we use this term, and I'm sure it'll be changed to people on the spectrum. And what I realize is I got 30 watts, all right? I'm on the spectrum. I got 100 watts. I'm on the spectrum, just on a different spectrum, right? And so if people need help, they can call. And it's interesting thing. When they first started here, they wanted to develop a program where Jewish students could go to the synagogue and donate to their time to programs that they have.
Right.
The goal was not Friendship Circle. This is a great thing about life. Right? So in searching for programs that they can invite kids in to serve, then that came up.
Yeah.
All right? And so that's really about life. We make sure, are we talking about, if we're talking, this is the goal here, to make cookies, all right? Right? No. The goal was to get cookies into a supermarket and be able to keep people happy. And then you start doing these things. And truly, I learned a lot just from that. And I repeat the story because so often we mix up the task with the goal. The tasks are to help us get to the bigger goal, and it makes us look and be better. And I mentioned to you, I've been working on a project. It was in doing these steps, that wasn't the goal. The goal is to create a document that's going to inspire and preserve things. All right, that was the goal, not just to make these shows. So, what was it that you'd like to do in the next year? This is 2025 in a couple of weeks. It'll be your first full year here. What would you like to accomplish?
I'd like to meet everybody in our community in any way possible to help them where they're at for what they need. How's that for a goal?
Yeah, that is. So often, by the way, when people see people dressed like you, wearing yarmulke, sometimes wearing what do you call the hat? What is it called?
The hat? I mean,
the hat.
Fedora,
okay.
people something called it.
Okay. Beard, dressed a certain way. People, they're thinking, well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Right? And so frequently, by the way, we see people that look like rabbis but are not. Tell me about what that's like for you to be as a rabbi and having everything there and communicating throughout Miami-Dade County.
Yeah.
Do you see this acceptance because of the way you look, or do you see people, pulling away?
Well, my wife gets a lot quicker acceptance than I do, but that's good. I think that it may at first be foreign to people, like unexpected. But like you said, first of all, the familiarity with Chabad is more prevalent, over time, and the warmth and friendliness and the idea that pretty much within a moment of a conversation, almost like your doctor putting that hand on your shoulder, people no longer see the external. This is like my uniform, as like a policeman wears a uniform, and this represents obviously an inner representation of what I'm about. I'm reminded every day that I'm sort of a soldier in spreading goodness and kindness and light to the world. But who we are is much deeper than what we show on the outside. And I think people see that when you radiate that too. Each one of us have our wattage to shine, you know.
Amen. All right. So tell us about Hanukkah. We got 5 minutes left. So Hanukkah's coming up.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
And you're going to have some activities at the Chabad. All right. And people can contact you from your website. There's a phone number, email address that are there. Tell us again the short version of why Jews celebrate Hanukkah.
I think, again, it's a universal message. We've been the microcosm for that for the world throughout our history, where there's a little bit of light pushes away a lot of darkness. You know, we're sitting here in Miami, and you have the whole world. We have a lot of sun here. You light the candle up in the middle of the day, it doesn't seem to accomplish much. But in a dark room, it lights up the whole world. And the story of Hanukkah and the continuous story of our history is that the truth sometimes seems like a little jug of oil, but we have all to shine. And we celebrate that. Each one of us are light. So we have the Hanukkah event. We're going to be visiting retirement homes. We're going to be having menorah lighting as well, and music, and that everybody should feel that their light it adds. So we have an end of year campaign where everybody shows that we complete each other. You said that each one of us has something. It could be something, somebody come help me with my landscaping. Somebody helps me with my being on the community news here today together to share a message to the world that you do in your job every day and the whole team here does. Each one of us shares, and that's something that we need to celebrate more and more so.
So again, as I started, I'm not sure what religion is, but I like that. You can call it whatever you want, right? And I think that's when people see you, us, and after a few minutes, if they can feel that from you, they can look past and get to the inside. I had the privilege of interviewing a tattoo artist. He had 85% of his whole body was tattoos.
Wow.
Nose rings, everything. And I said, you know, in life, there are people like you and there's people like me. I said, let's talk about you. I was able to get past, and I told him the way he looked to who he was and what he was doing.
Exactly.
He was a little boy. His father wanted him to be a dentist, a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy had tattoos everywhere. From a family point, really successful, and from a business point, he rented 60,000 feet at the youth fair. Wow. He had 450 people buy booths out there. Artists from around the world were there, and then people would go there to get the famous artists to put it on their skin, and they would have contests. And as I'm talking to him, and I said, I think for the moment I could see past your big ears like that, and your nose and everything, and his split tongue, and he had these little things in it, and I practiced staying inside him to get away from how he looked. And so, and it does take practice all the time because we're so unfamiliar with that. So when people see you, they should go up and say hello to you, right? And say, welcome to Miami. So again, happy Hanukkah to you.
Hanukkah.
And is there like a Hanukkah prayer you'd like to do as we wrap up?
We should all have a freilichen and lichtigen Hanukkah. That's a joyous and lit up Hanukkah. That we get the opportunity now to light up the world with one act of goodness and kindness can change the world. No matter our background, we're all in the same boat here together to make this world a better place.
Terrific. And again, happy Hanukkah. Thank you for what you do, Rabbi.
Thank you.
Ari Werbler. Hey, again, thanks for joining us. Remember, take care of yourself and your family. Have a good day. Bye now.